Act 1. The Broken System. The fluorescent lights of the nurse's office buzzed faintly, washing the room in a sterile, pale glow. On the cot, 12-year-old Caleb Jr. sat with his legs dangling, sneakers barely touching the linoleum floor. His face was swollen along the cheekbone, a deep purplish bruise blossoming under his eye. Dried blood crusted his upper lip. His hands twisted in his lap as if he could wring the memory of fists from his skin. His father stood in the doorway, fists clenched so tight, the veins in his forearms bulged like ropes. He hadn't spoken since stepping into the room. He didn't trust his voice. One look at his son, skinny, quiet, good-hearted, and rage had thundered up his chest so fast it nearly choked him. The nurse muttered something about applying more ice and left them alone. The door clicked shut. The silence grew thick. "Who?" His voice came low, hoarse. Caleb Jr. swallowed, staring at his shoes. It was Marcus. The name echoed. He knew that boy. Heard about him before. Tall for his age, cocky. Teachers bragged about his grades, his potential. Honor roll student. The kind administrators liked to parade around at assemblies. "Marcus," the father repeated, tasting the word like poison. "And what did the school do about it?" His son shrugged, small shoulders rising and falling like the weight of the world sat on them. That shrug cut deeper than the bruises. 2 hours later, he sat across from the principal, a woman with a polished smile and eyes that avoided his. "We take all allegations of bullying very seriously," she said, hands folded neatly on the desk. "But Marcus has always been a model student. Straight A's, leadership qualities. Sometimes, misunderstandings happen between students." "Misunderstandings?" His voice cracked with disbelief. He leaned forward, placing both palms flat on her desk. "My boy's face looks like he went 10 rounds with a grown man. That look like a misunderstanding to you?" She shifted uncomfortably but kept her tone measured. "We'll look into it. But Mr. Harlow, escalating this won't help your son. These things have a way of working themselves out." The room spun hot. He stared at her, trying to understand if she'd heard herself. Work themselves out. Like his son was a problem that could be ignored until it disappeared. When he pressed further, demanded consequences, she gave him the same rehearsed lines. Finally, she stood, signaling the meeting was over. He left her office with his jaw locked so tight it ached. The police station wasn't any better. The officer behind the desk looked young enough to still be in college, his expression flat with indifference. He jotted notes as the father recounted everything. Names, times, threats whispered in hallways. The officer flipped his notepad shut with a sigh. "Look, kids fight," he said. "Middle school's rough. Unless you got a witness or video, there's not much we can do. You want us to send a cruiser by? Give the kid a scare?" The father stared at him. "A scare?" "Yeah," the officer shrugged. "Sometimes that helps." He walked out before the officer could finish. Outside, the night air was cool, sharp. He leaned against his truck, hands shaking. Rage churned inside him, hot and aimless, like a storm without a place to land. The system, the school, the police, had already washed their hands of his boy. So what did that leave? Back home, he found Caleb Jr. sitting on the couch, game controller untouched in his lap. The boy's eyes were red from crying, though he tried to hide it. "You talked to them?" he asked quietly. "Yeah." The father hesitated. "They're not gonna help." The boy's head lowered. His silence felt heavier than words. "You can't let him do this to you again," his father said, crouching down so they were eye to eye. "You hear me? You stand up. You fight back." The boy shook his head. "He's bigger. He's got people with him." A long silence stretched between them. The father's heart twisted. He wanted to promise safety, to swear he'd handle everything. But the truth tasted bitter. He couldn't be everywhere. Couldn't shield his son from every fist, every corner of the world that sharpened itself against him. "Then you fight anyway," he said softly, almost pleading. "You don't have to win. Just make him know you won't break." The boy nodded weakly, though his eyes betrayed doubt. Days passed. The bruise on Caleb's face yellowed and faded, but something in his eyes stayed dim. He walked with his shoulders hunched, gaze always on the floor. The father noticed how quiet dinners had become, how often his son checked over his shoulder when they stopped at the gas station or the grocery store. One evening, the father caught him wincing as he pulled his shirt over his head. He lifted the fabric and saw faint purple marks along the ribs. "When?" Caleb froze. "It's nothing." "When?" His voice rose. The boy's eyes glossed over. "Couple days ago, in the bathroom, they shoved me into the stalls. Told me if I said anything, they'd come after you too." The words sank like stones. His throat closed. His boy hadn't just been hurt. He'd been threatened into silence. The father sat heavily on the bed. For a long moment, he didn't trust himself to speak. The rage inside him wasn't just hot anymore. It was cold, sharp, like ice forming over broken glass. "You listen to me," he said finally, steady but fierce. "There is nothing they can do to me that scares me. Not one thing. You understand?" Caleb's small nod was unconvincing. Fear had already coiled itself around him. That night, long after his son fell asleep, the father sat in the kitchen with the lights off. The only glow came from the street lamp outside, painting the room in stripes of shadow. He turned his wedding band around his finger, a habit he hadn't broken, though the marriage had ended years ago. He thought of the principal's fake smile, the officer's lazy shrug, the gangly boy with A's on his report card who walked the halls like a king because the world let him. And he thought of his own son, curled under the covers, afraid to go to school in the morning. The rage rose again, but this time it didn't fade. It settled inside him, solid, immovable. He whispered into the dark, words he hadn't planned, words that tasted dangerous even as they left his lips. No one else will protect him. The decision wasn't made yet, but the seed had been planted, and he knew, deep down, that it would grow.
We appreciate you taking the time to experience our stories. Every view, like, comment, and share helps keep this dream alive. At JC Storyteller LLC, we're dedicated to crafting emotional, powerful, and unforgettable narratives that connect with real people. If this story touched you, inspired you, or made you think, please consider subscribing and joining our growing community of story lovers. Your support means the world. Thank you for being part of the journey.